We are starting off this edition of WION Climate Tracker with South Africa, where nearly 60 people have lost their lives due to prolonged rainfall and flooding. The disaster took place in the coastal province of KwaZulu-Natal. On Monday, parts of the region received more than 300 millimeters of rain, the heaviest recorded one-day downpour in over 60 years. Days of driving rainfall led to flooding in several parts. It tore apart houses and ravaged infrastructure across the city, while landslides triggered by the rainfall forced train services to also be suspended across the province. Durban is the largest city in the coastal province. It also witnessed destruction caused by the incessant rainfall.
At around 3 a.m. I felt the truck shaking and I thought maybe someone bumped it. And when I tried to open the curtain, I saw the water level which was very high. I tried frantically to start the truck and it refused at first. And then eventually it started. And then there was lots of water, so I drove and then started waking others up. I managed to get out of the yard and then I got the other man out.
Durban Port, the largest and busiest shipping terminal in sub-Saharan Africa, has also been inundated with the floodwaters that carried away the shipping containers and left them in a jumbled pile. More than 2,000 houses and 4,000 shacks were damaged as a result of the rain across the province. Rescue operations, aided by the military, evacuated people trapped in the worst affected areas. Authorities are providing shelter for several hundred people whose homes and possessions were washed away by the floods. Technicians have also been working to restore electricity to areas where the power was knocked out.
I got nowhere to go now. I got no house, I got no nothing. Yes, my family is there by my neighbors. We tried to give me the place to sleep last night. We never sleep last night. The situation is very, very bad. I don't know where we're going to go to sleep now.
The President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, also visited Durban and met with the people affected by the disaster. While in Durban, he said that this is a tragic toll of the force of nature, and this situation calls for an effective response by the government. Ramaphosa was expected to declare a state of emergency in the city, although no such move has been announced as of now. For now, there is some respite. The downpour has stopped and residents have been looking through their shattered homes, what remains of where they stayed, and desperately looking for what's left.
Cleaning up the road after the severe rain from last night, washing down the mud and the banks of people's houses, and since we've been trying to get people to come and sort it out, no one's come, so it's the residents are now taking charge.
In the last few years, South Africa has witnessed an unprecedented rise in the intensity of storms. Scientists have highlighted the possible links with climate change, but have not been able to provide further details due to lack of historical data on weather patterns in the country. WION's Alyson is currently in Durban, getting us this report from Ground Zero. Take a look.
Death toll following the floods and mudslides after the heavy rain that struck South Africa's port city of Durban in the province of KwaZulu-Natal has climbed to 59. The country's President Cyril Ramaphosa has visited the KwaZulu-Natal province. He went to Claremont, which is west of Durban, to take stock of the relief efforts that are currently underway. Now, the incessant rain has collapsed bridges, it has flooded the city's highways, it has destroyed operations at Durban port, and there have been reports of looting where there are people stealing cargo from shipping containers. Now, the country's meteorologists have said that this weather system is likely to lessen and weaken by this evening. As you can see behind me, cleanup operations are underway up and down the coast. I'm Alyson reporting to you live from Durban for WION The World.
And for more inputs, joining us on the broadcast is senior journalist Thabo Makwakwa, live from Durban. Thanks very much for being here with us. Tell us where exactly in Durban you are and what things are looking like in your area.
Thank you very much for having me. I am currently reporting to you or coming live to you from our offices of the independent media Daily News here in Greyville, Durban. This is in town of Durban, of course. So the situation here has been very, very horrific. The scenes that you have seen, of course, that you have been showing on the screens are quite exactly what has happened in the past few days. About 300 millimeters of rainfall befallen, our cities, of course, townships, and people have badly been affected. Homes have been wrecked. We have seen, mudslides breaking through people's houses, of course, and, the complete demolition of houses by these heavy rainfalls.
The president visited Durban. He has said that the situation calls for an effective response by the government, but the state of emergency has not been declared yet. What more can you tell us about that?
Of course, no state of disaster has been declared, and this could be based on two factors. The fact that just about last year in July, we had, a state of disaster in the country. There was a state of emergency when there was looting, and then also you know that we just got out from this COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, we still have some strict regulations in place. But of course, now that they have not declared it, does not mean, of course, that we are not in a state of disaster. He visited townships today, promising, of course, that government was going to bring in about some interventions. But I can tell you that in 2017, we had a similar situation with townships being affected, people losing their homes, infrastructure getting damaged, and many or the majority of those houses that were actually affected by the flooding have not really received, any attention from government. I doubt if there's even a budget for that, looking at the fact that economically we are not doing well as a country.
For now, there is some respite in some parts of the province. If you can tell us for how long the rain has been gone for. And the technicians have also been working around the clock to restore power in those areas which were affected and where the power lines were snapped off.
So it was not only the electricity that has been cut off because of the heavy rains. It was also the water that was cut off in my place where I stay, in my place of residence. We also did not have water for a good part of the day yesterday. Now, the president visiting these areas and the city, of course, working around the clock to ensure that they restore those services. There are still some very places that were affected and they are still without water and electricity. But also the roads have been damaged. School children have been prevented from going to school. And we are only hoping that they will bring about this change and make sure that they restore the services that are much required at this time.
Extreme weather events have unfortunately become the new normal. This spell of torrential rain is the latest disaster in a season of storms that have been witnessed by the region, and some scientists say that this has only been intensified by climate change. What is your assessment of the data and the findings and the link of these intensified torrential rainfall, rounds of torrential rainfall to climate change?
Of course. Just going back a little back to your first question or your previous question, you had asked about the weather today. So we have been saying some sun coming out in the morning, but now it has gone very cloudy and we have just gotten reports that we should be expecting rain this evening. And I hope that it is actually not going to rain, but it seems like it's going to rain looking from the outside. In terms of, climate change and how it is affecting, many other cities in the country and, of course, in the global community, I can tell you that with the high rising temperatures and, of course, these changes that we're experiencing, there is actually more damage to be expected, as this is said not to be the last, heavy rainfall that we're going to see. Usually in South Africa around this time, going into winter, because as from May, June, July, it's the winter period. So it's usually, a time where we do not see, such heavy rains coming down on us. But for the very first time, and of course, maybe I can just take it back to last year, we have seen some, rain patterns changing and, of course, the weather becoming increasingly unpredictable. So we anticipate a lot of damage as, of course, the infrastructure build was not meant to actually withstand all these types of disasters that we're seeing. And, the poor construction of this as well and the blockage of drainage water systems is also causing havoc because the water has got no place to float into. It's got no streams to go into because even the drainage system is actually damaged. These are things that have not been serviced in a very long time. So it's going to be a very hard one for not only the residents, but also the government as well, because they have to ensure that there are interventions coming into place.
We're leaving it there for the moment. Thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast and giving us a better sense of what the situation is looking like where you are. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.